Welcome back to Steve Robb Reviews. Today's review is going to be all about spray painting using one of them electric spray painters. I've never tried one of these before, so this will be a perfect opportunity for all of you that have never tried one of these electric paint sprayers. I'll be spraying a stain on my fence in the backyard, and this is the ideal opportunity to try it out on, well, a particular fence with a lot of lattice in it, because it's painful to paint one of them with a brush or a roller. So let's go over to the bench here. Let's take a look at the supplies that I've used. Okay, so I got my tarps, I got my painting tarps, and I used some of this masking tape and some green painter's tape. I took the pull handle off the gate. I took the light off the top of the post. And I put this here because, well, you're going to see what it looked like before. And I had this beware of dog sign on there. And, well, it looks just like the original. I don't know how it's going to turn out when I put this on. So this is what I'm using right here. And it's a, well, I better turn it on the other side. Yeah, natural cedar. And this is the rig I'll be using right here. And, well, I'm going to put in here how much I paid for this thing. So that's how much I paid for it. I don't know what to expect, but for all you that are thinking of going the low-cost way, well, I'm going to try this baby out right here. So let me just show you this particular stain on my deck first, and then I'll show you what I got going on. Okay, so that's what the stain looked like after I was finished, and I think it turned out fantastic. I mean, I like the color of it and everything. And then we'll just go on towards the backyard here, and that's what I got set up. And I've just got some clamps holding a board or a piece of wood here that holds the tarp up, and I got that covered with a little bit of paper. And I'm just trying to control as much overspray as possible. And you could see how it's weathered a lot, right? And this is what the deck pretty much looked like that. So, and you can see where the beware of dog sign was. So let's open this sprayer up and let's take a look and let's see what's involved in just getting it out, putting the stain in, and go at her. Okay, so this is it right here. And it looks pretty straightforward to me. You put it in here, clip it in, and it's got 3 different tips on the end. I'm going to pick the one for the stain, and then I'm just going to put some in this bottle. And I will tell you something. That deck didn't use half of this container. So I'm thinking with the sprayer, I'm not going to use that much. Because if I tried to brush and roll it on, man, I'd probably use the whole container up, on lattice, because it's painful to, to brush in there, right, to get everything done. So today I'll just be doing one side, and we'll take a look at it. But I'm going to put this all together. I'll bring you back when I got the stain in there, and we'll find out what tip it was that fits this. Okay, so I ran into a little bit of a problem. First of all, the adjustment is right here for the trigger on how much you're going to spray. And this has a tip in it. And I've adjusted to vertical spray. So I looked at all the instructions, and it shows the nozzle size. 1, 2, 3, 4 different nozzle sizes. But nowhere in the instructions does it say which one do you use for a stain. I mean, yeah, it's got lots of troubleshooting in here, got all kinds of stuff on cleaning, but yeah, so you know what? I'm just going to put the stain in here, and we're just going to go at her and see what happens. Okay, so I'm not too sure what to expect. I got it all filled up. You could see here, it's pretty full up, and I decided to do this in the morning before the sun gets on here, because I find it covers a lot better when you're doing something in the shade and you got the full sun blasting on it. So let's start Let's see what happens. Okay, so the tip is spraying in the wrong direction I want to go. So is it just a matter of just changing it into this direction? Let's find out. Now you can see that's running there. So I'm going to get a rag and I'm going to wipe that first. Then I'll come back and we'll try this again because I think too much is coming out. Okay, so I turn the trigger here. There's a plus and a less. So I backed it out quite a bit so it wouldn't be spraying so much paint. Let's try it again. Well, what do you think? I think it does a pretty good job. I'm going to try it on the other side here next. And I'm going to back the paint off a little bit more because it's still kind of spraying a little bit too much. Well, I'm liking it. I'll take you off the tripod, I'll give you a close look at the panels that I've done and the one that's not done and see if you can notice a huge difference. Okay, so that's the first one right there. And I think that the coverage is pretty good to me. I mean, I'm not that picky about stuff, but yeah, it's applying it pretty good. Now, these marks here, they've always been there. But, yeah. You know what these marks are? I'll tell you something. These are raccoons climbing over the fence. And they climb over the same spot and they scratch into it. But you can definitely tell the difference between, you know, like the old and the new. I mean, it's like night and day. I mean, for the amount of time, like I spent maybe a half an hour just quickly tarping this up. And you know how much time you would spend? Now this is almost, you can't even hardly see this anymore, right? I'm putting the sign back in the same spot anyways. But I mean, for the amount of time, it covered great. Okay, that's it. I put 2 coats on this and finished it right to the end. And I'll tell you something, I'm very impressed for the time saving that it would have taken me to actually manually paint all this, because I've done it before, and you're looking at 3-4 hours, and this does a better job. And let's go in the shop and I'll explain a couple of things that I had to do that you'll probably run into as well. Okay, so I had to get the brush out because I'm not an expert at this electric sprayer, so I had to get my brush and touch it up in a couple of spots where I was had way too much paint on. So you got to back the stain, back it right off. You know, it's easy to go over again, but if you put too much on the first time, well, you're going to have to just dry it up a bit with the brush and just go over it with the brush. And I don't think you can see any brush marks out there. So this is how much we got left, and this jug is empty. So I had about half in here, and this is 3.78. So this took about, I would say, a little more than a liter to paint that whole fence. I think it's just fantastic. So what do you think? That was my first time trying it, and it gives you a good insight, maybe the first time you're going to try it. And of course you got to make a little bit of an adjustments. I don't know what nozzle I was using in there. I just used the one that come with it. When I'm cleaning the gun itself, I'm just going to use soap and water because it's a water-based solution, and I'm just going to clean it out and take a look and see what the tip is. And the next time I do it, I'll pick the next smaller tip. I don't mind spending more time spraying. You can only adjust the amount of spray as far as you can go as to the tip size. So I think I'd back it off and go down to the smallest tip right off the hop. I think you do a lot better off, and you wouldn't have to go so much with the brush after, you know, touching up the little bit of splatter and runs. But I think it did a great job. I mean, for the amount of time. So I'm going to say it took me tops 10 minutes to spray it first time, and then I went over it again and sprayed it a second coat. So I mean, I think that's, well, in my books, this thing is awesome for the money I paid, and I think it would work out awesome for a lot of you that, you know, don't want to be fiddling around with especially lattice, right? And just masking it up on the back side and at the bottoms does a great job at containing it. And I notice there's not a lot of overspray really. When you look, there's not a lot of overspray. I mean, on the asphalt driveway there, I only, you know, covered a foot up, and that was enough. So thanks for joining me here today. I hope you enjoyed my adventure on the first time of trying one of these electric airless sprayers. And I'm saying 5 out of 5 for me as far as I'm concerned. It worked fantastic. Come back again. If you haven't seen this channel before, you're welcome to subscribe and see some interesting reviews every week. Cheers.